If you loved one of my old videos where I roast my unsuccessful rejected applications, you're going to love this video where for once I'm being nice to myself and actually reacting positively to these successful applications that I completed. A shout out to Luminous Mark for the idea for this video by commenting on one of my old videos. You're a real one. Welcome to the channel, guys. If you're new here, my name's Simranjeet Kaur Mann. I'm a future trainee solicitor for a UK top 20 law firm, and I make videos about law, careers, personal development, as well as vlogging my journey towards becoming a solicitor and beyond. Let's jump straight into it today. I'm going to be providing you snippets of application answers that I've given to firms that have consequently been successful. I'm not going to be naming the firms here for just, I'm not. But however, I will give you an idea of what kind of firm they are. For example, are they an American firm? Are they regional, etc. If you follow me on Instagram, you will already see that I have posted some examples of previous answers that have been successful. And in the caption, I analyze exactly why that application answer was strong. So if you want to see more examples, head over to my Instagram. In this video, however, I'll be talking about some different examples because at the end of the day, why would you want to watch the same video about the same answers that I've already analyzed on Instagram? Make it make sense. So in this video, I'll be providing commentary and analysis on these application answers. Why were they good answers? Were there any ways in which I could improve on the answer, etc. And then hopefully this will give you some inspiration and tips on how to improve your own application answers when doing your vacation scheme and training contract applications. Now let's start off with firm A. So this is an American law firm. I remember they asked around 6 questions on the application form and then a cover letter as well. It was a bit wild, if I'm honest with you. The first question that I want to point out here is, why specifically are you interested in training at firm A? What makes us different to other firms you have applied for? So this is a common question that you typically do get on an application. If you don't get it on an application, sometimes you do get it during the video interview or the interview itself later on, or the assessment center, blah, blah, blah. So I start off this answer by saying, one of the primary reasons why I'm interested in working at firm A is the opportunity to work in small teams. I would not be a trainee lost in the crowd, but one who is given significant responsibilities. Now, this is a reason a lot of people generally do give in their applications. Small teams are generally associated with significant responsibility. However, this isn't something that I simply just state in my answer and move on to the next point. I develop that point a little bit further. So here's what I say. Essentially, I provide reasoning for why it's important to me. So basically, I say, this is something I thrive in as I'm currently a paralegal in a team where there are no trainee solicitors, as my duties align to work typically assigned to one. Recently, I was the only representative, I can't say that, representative. I don't know whether I'm ever saying that word right, I'm not gonna lie, but anyway, recently I was the only representative of the firm attending a hearing and guiding counsel. This is an example of the vast opportunities I receive from working in a small team, which also proves that I would flourish in the unique framework that firm A promotes. So do you see how specific that example is? I don't simply say, oh, I like working in small teams and that's it. It's just gonna give me responsibility, which I'm gonna love. Like, I'm not just reacting in that way. I'm actually providing a really, really specific example from my paralegal experience of a time when I've also worked in a small team and I've really benefited from it. So as mentioned before, this application also contained a cover letter. Now, because the firm had already asked questions in their application outside of the cover letter, they asked questions like why this firm, why commercial law, etc. I didn't want to put those elements into the cover letter itself. It would literally be me just repeating the same thing and wasting word count. If you want to see a video where I talk more about cover letters in a lot more detail than I would in this video, click on the link above. Now, if you've seen my previous video where I was roasting my old application cover letter, you will see that this time I have learnt my lesson and I signed off my letter with yours faithfully instead of kind regards. Huzzah! So as mentioned before, in the cover letter, I decided to adopt a different structure because the firm had already asked questions in the application form like why this firm, why law, etc. etc. So therefore, because I was adopting a different structure, I made this very, very clear from the outset of my letter. So after saying the dear sir, whatever, and then giving a little bit of an introduction of like who I am, where I'm at in my journey, I basically then start my cover letter, the main body of the letter, with, in this letter, I will explain how my skills align to firm A, making me a suitable candidate for a training contract at the firm. So this was a topic that was not covered elsewhere in the application. I was providing the firm with new information, and also I was taking charge. This was my cover letter. I will write it how I want to write it. I will include information in there that I want to be included. I then go on to talk about one skill that really makes me suited to the firm, and that's my innovation and my innovative mindset. I will write this on the side for you so it saves me having to just repeat the whole thing. I'm just being lazy. So after making this statement, I then link it back to a non-legal work experience of when I was a teaching assistant. This example was actually taken from one of my first part-time jobs that I did from between 16 and 18 years old, and like I've mentioned, it was a non-legal opportunity. So therefore, do bear in mind that you can use a wide range of examples, be it legal, non-legal, and unless the firm actually specifies, use recent examples like in the space of 3 to 5 years. Don't be afraid to include those examples that happened, say if it was like during a part-time job that you did when you were 18, for example. Just make sure it's still relevant to what's being asked of you and it relates directly to the point that you're trying to say. So essentially use the example that suits the situation best. So you can see on the right hand side or the left hand side, I don't know how this video is going to be published. I don't know my left and rights, by the way. I have to go like this. Fun fact. Anyway, just showing that I'm dumb. So you can see from the left hand side of what I'm writing here, how I linked my innovative mindset to my work experience. So note here as well, innovation basically means a new or better way of doing something. It doesn't necessarily mean that every time you see the word innovation, you have to link it to legal tech. In my opinion, you don't have to do that. Like talking about being a teaching assistant and then linking that to my innovative mindset, I do believe made my application stand out here. Also, it's important to note how much detail I go into here. Carrying on with the theme of my previous answer, my answers are very specific. I provide personal anecdotes for every experience that I do. And I guess the positives of this is that it comes across as genuine and real. Like the grad recruitment are not like, oh, this girl's just chatting breeze right now. Like she actually did this and it proves to us that she's a genuine candidate. The last thing I did in this paragraph about the innovative mindset was linking it back to the firm itself. So this is where I state, this aligns with how firm A has spotted latest developments and incorporated them into their business as displayed through Initiative 1 and Initiative 2. It comes as no surprise to me that firm A was the award, so this is an award that they received for 2 consecutive years. So when you are talking about transferable skills in your application, a lot of candidates tend to miss out on that transferable part. How is the skill that you've got transferable to directly the firm that you're applying to? Not just any law firm, the firm that you're applying to. And therefore here I made specific links to the 2 initiatives and the award that the firm had to show that they were innovative, and linked it back to my own mindset and that example that I've given that I was also innovative as well. Enough about firm A, let's move on to firm B. So firm B is another transatlantic law firm, but unlike firm A, they've got regional offices too, so they've got quite a lot of like national strength as well as international strength as well. So this application only had 1 question, which was 850 words, and the rest of the application was you talking about your work experiences and your hobbies and your interests, like you'd list it like it was a work experience section. So technically there was only 1 question in the whole application. And the question asked, if you could introduce any client to the firm, who would it be and why? Consider which sectors and teams could take advantage of this new relationship. So a couple of pointers for this question before I start off with giving my answer. Maybe you might want to pause the video actually at this point and see on the top of your head who you may bring. If you were bringing a client to your dream firm, who would you bring? Why would it be that client? And which teams and sectors could benefit? So pause the video and then come back and see my answer. Before I give my answer now, I'm gonna assume that you have paused it and you have thought, no cheating. If you have cheated, trust me, I will know about it. Girls know everything, yeah? Anyway, so a couple of pointers, I guess, before I start by giving my answer to this question. I think firstly, it's very, very important to pay attention to every single part of the question that's being asked. So who is the client? Why would you pick them? I guess this element of the question relates to showing your commercial awareness. And then the next question about which sectors and teams could benefit. Notice sectors and teams was a plural, not a singular. sector. So therefore you have to pick a client who not only appeals to one sector or team, but appeals to many sectors or teams within that firm. So you're incorporating your commercial knowledge and marrying it up with the knowledge of the firm itself and your research. If you want to know how I research firms, click on the link above. So I start my answer to this question with this: innovation is at the core of firm B. Thus, it is important to introduce such a client that shares this ideal. The client I would introduce is Novartis, a multinational pharmaceutical company that aligns with firm B's transatlantic footprint. So I go into detail here about how this company was innovative in launching this drug called Kymriah, and it's essentially used to treat patients with B-cell leukemia. So I picked firstly a company that's well known but not too big. Like, I didn't pick like a client like Tesla or Apple. I felt like grad recruitment would read that and just roll their eyes like, oh, yet another one. So I wanted to pick a company that was still well known, would still be able to bring in revenues for a law firm like the one that I was applying for, was still kind of a popular name, but not too bait that it was the same client that any other person could have given. And also I instantly linked in this statement, I've linked the client to two features of the firm. Firstly, the innovative nature of the firm, and secondly, the transatlantic footprint of the firm. And therefore straight away I've shown that this client is good for your firm, because straight away from the onset, two of the values and ideals of the firm are aligned to the client itself. So I'm very glad that I dealt with this kind of straight away, especially because this firm in particular, they really care about their ethos and their values, and it's shown through different things that the firm have done as well. So the fact that I'd tackled that part of the question straight away, I think was a big plus for me. I then go on to answer the why element of the question. So why did I pick this client? Now, a lot of applications here may simply state, oh, I found this company admirable, or I liked their initiatives here, but not go into actual detail further about why they found it admirable. So therefore in this question and my answer, I do it a bit differently. Here's what I say. I picked this company because I've always been interested in disruptive technology since undertaking research into Kira and other technology startups during my vacation scheme at PwC. I shifted my focus to technology in medicine and pharmacy, and thus came across Novartis. In the same way AI systems like Kira changed the way solicitors provide their services to clients, breakthrough therapies like Kymriah aid in solving the world's biggest health problems. Mwah. Look at that link between the work experience and the work of Novartis. Oh, I'm getting emotional. So my answer then goes into the last part of answering the question, which sectors and teams could benefit from the relationship? And I mentioned four big sectors here: life sciences, technology, healthcare, and real estate. So these are all pretty wide-ranging practice areas. And I guess here you really are required to show your creativity and your understanding of different practice areas and what the lawyers do in different practice areas as well to really answer this question well. One thing I did do here was actually compared the work of one sector and what they did that another sector or team wouldn't do, and this was as part of my research that I found out when I was researching the firm. So for example, in respect to the life sciences and the healthcare sector, it could be assumed perhaps that their role can be quite similar in terms of similar things that the lawyers do in each team. However, here I write, unlike the life sciences and pharmaceutical sector, which would mainly provide litigious advice to Novartis to protect the company's brand, the healthcare sector can aid in regulating advice. Throughout my answer as well, I make links to Firm B's current clients and link it back to the question to say, well, you know what, you've already done work with similar clients in this sector like this, and this. Therefore, working with this client and bagging this client shouldn't be a difficult feat because you are showing that you already have experience with clients within the field. Right, now let's move on to Firm C. Firm C is another American firm. Sorry that all these firms are pretty much American firms. That was mainly what I tended to go for when I was applying to law firms. The framework that they had was one that I liked the most and admired the most. So the question here is quite a typical one when you're applying in the application stage. What financial or business story in the news of the last 6 months has caught your imagination and why? So at the time, the administration of Patisserie Valerie, or as I call it, Pat Val, was a key topic in current affairs, and it was something that I was really interested in. The word count for this question was 150 words. So firstly, I provide a very brief introduction about what's going on. I start with saying I've been following the administration of Pat Val, particularly because of my previous role as an insolvency paralegal. Recently, it has been announced that 5 people have been investigated following the collapse of the coffee chain. So this is all I provide in respect to that first part of the question. I then move on to the second part of the question. So why did this story interest impress me. And this part of the question is where I dedicate most of my word count. So I then go on to say, the story caught my imagination. Note that I use the exact wording of the question here. So the question said, which story has caught your imagination? So I don't necessarily say, oh, this story attracted me or it appealed to me. I literally use the words of the question. The story caught my imagination. Not only because of the unaccounted 94 million, but also how it took that long for 5 people to be arrested and whether it was only just 5 people involved. In my opinion, given the grave circumstances of the case, there will be further arrests made. So see, sometimes here, you don't have to show interest by just linking it to your work experience or linking it to something that you've studied, for example. It's definitely something that I have done in this answer because I have linked my interest here to my paralegal role. However, the main thing that I do here is link it back to my own opinion. And that again shows why I'm interested. I'm not only taking the article at face value, I'm asking questions about it and making predictions about what I think could come up. I then, however, go on further to link the story to me personally. So in addition, having worked for 2 members of the Big Four, PwC and EY, I wonder whether additional measures will be put in place to ensure that they learn from the mistakes that Grant Thornton made when they were auditing Pat Val. Certainly this is a growing problem in the Big Four, with PwC being fined 6.5 million over a lack of competence in audit earlier this month. So this answer is unique, not only in showing genuine interest, but I've shown that genuine interest by firstly linking it back to my work experience, but also linking it to other news stories that I've read. So by linking it to other news stories that I've read, I've again shown why this story interests me, because it's a topic that I'm really going out of my way to read around. Right, so this is all the analysis I'm going to do today. If you'd like further examples of how I analyze my successful answers, please do check out my old Instagram posts. If you scroll down quite a bit, you will find them there. A link to my Instagram page is in the video description below. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video.